Hello, everybody. Glad I'm back. Last week I was away. Silvia and I had personal commitments. But anyway, we are here. We are back. And we are eager to talk about the value of life. This is a wonderful topic. Always talking about life, always talking about this blessing we have in our hands. It's good. Luckily, I have these two musketeers with me, and let's do it. Good evening, my dear Gibbons. How are you?
Hello, good evening to you. Good evening, Charles. Wonderful to be here, and apologies that I couldn't make on time last week. And good evening to everyone that is listening to us now, or will be listening to us in a future time. And it's always wonderful to be with you all and discussing about spiritism, my favorite topic in the whole world. And today we're going to talk about the value of life, which is something very special and very important for us to think about. So hope everyone is well, and do participate, send your question, make your comment. It's nice to hear from all of you, and may God bless us all.
Good. Bonsoir, Charles.
Bonsoir Stevan, bonsoir Silvia, bonsoir à tous. Hello everyone, very happy to be here again with you tonight or today, depending on where you are in the world. Very interesting topic, the value of life. Let's try to develop it a little bit in the view of the Spiritist body of knowledge.
Good. Okay, let me do my video here. Okay. Show here. Okay, yeah. Let me share my screen, and we can show. Okay.
This current life is nothing more than a short play in a large theater. And we focus only on the bits and pieces, the parts that are on the stage. And we forget that backstage, there's a huge production staff that we did not see because we are stuck in the physical body. And if we put on a good show, and we allow these other agents of the Christ, these other agents of God, who are these supporting actors and roles in our life, our family members, our friends, they're the ones who allow us and help us to perhaps put on a good show for the audience that's watching us. To instead of just being in that one theater, we can go to a better theater and put on a bigger play, a better play, and allow those in the backstage area, in the production staff, to do their job as well and have faith and trust in what they're doing. Because their work is what really matters. We're simply representing their wants and their desires here on this earth. So we have to be thankful for the opportunity to be in this grandiose play, this beautiful play of life.
Okay, so we are in this play, and we are characters. Today I'm Stevan. Yesterday could be Miguel, João, Charles, Maria. Could be anything. And we have the life in our hands. We have this gift God gave us. Gift to learn how to handle problems, gift on how to celebrate good moments. Life is full of blessings. Sometimes we do have um, problems. We do have bitter moments, but these bitter moments teach us how to move on, how to become a better person, how to become a better dad, a better mom, a better wife, a better husband. This is life. I'm not just talking about life, incarnated life, because in the spiritual world, it is life as well. Different form, but it's life. Everything's life. We have one life with many incarnations. So, in both ways, we will learn here or in the spiritual world. We will learn. That's that's the beauty of life. So, Charles, how wonderful it is your life.
Wonderful indeed. And you're totally right, Steven, to mention again, we are here talking according to the spiritualist paradigm, the spiritist body of knowledge point of view. But and you remember very well that the life is here on earth, living beings. We are living beings. But even when we die here on earth in the material world, we continue alive. Our life continues in the spiritual world. But if we give a quick look only to the material world, okay, we know that life appeared on Earth something like 3 point something or to almost 4 billion years ago. This means around, or with rough numbers, 1 billion years after the creation of the Earth. And how did life appear? These very simple forms of life, monocellular, as one single cell, which was living. And then all the forms of life went developing in a progressive and increasing level of complexity until reaching what we are today, the human being. So if we take this more simple form of life, a single cell, a single living cell, are we today capable to synthesize one? We know perfectly its constitution in terms of atoms and elements of the Mendeleev tables. It's carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, and so on. But so are we have these elements at our disposal, but are we able to synthesize one single cell and give life to it? We are not. The only thing we can do is to duplicate, to clone, but to create from the simple elements a living cell, we are not capable. So this gives us an idea of how little we still are in front of this wonderful phenomenon which is life. And of course, the complexity when growing, and the most complex form of life, at least from our perception, is the human being. Okay, so we are alive. We have conscience, or we are alive. We are conscient of our existence. To be or not to be, that is the question. Said a famous writer not so long ago.
Mhm.
And uh, a couple of centuries maybe.
Maybe.
And so we are not capable. We are capable, of course, law of reproduction, again, to clone, and we know the natural process in order to have reproduction and to create new forms of life through the pregnancy and fecundation and everything. We know the law of reproduction. But again, we are not capable also, even in ourselves. What is the difference 1 minute before death and 1 minute after death? We are a living being, and then of a sudden we are death. The EEG is flat, and there are these diagnostics to make sure, in the medical point of view, that we are really deaf. But what is the difference between just before and just after? Science also doesn't know. But the Spiritist body of knowledge is quite clear on this. The difference is the presence or not of the spirit with its spiritual body. And even in the most simple form of life, how did we jump from the inert matter to living matter or organic matter and this single cell? It was a combination of several things, those chemical elements which were available on the earth, but also an organizing principle, which is the spiritual body, and another element which is called the vital fluid. And this is exactly what we have in the human being. We know how the fecundation process. You have the ovule, which is fecunded by a spermatozoid, the first one which is reaching there. And then this cell is dividing, developing in 3 dimensions, also in different functions. We just can see how wonderful it is, but also we cannot explain where this increasing organizing energy is coming from, because some apport some to bring some energy, because the second law of thermodynamics, the entropy, is demonstrating the opposite. We should go always in bigger and bigger disorder, but here it's an increasing order. So in order to achieve this, there must be some energy coming from somewhere. Where does this energy come from? Very interesting question, isn't it? But clearly, again, Spiritist body of knowledge teaches it comes from the spiritual body, the perispirit, called as name given by Kardec, which is enveloping the soul, which is then binding to this fecunded cell, which is then driving, using as a form for making the growing of what is then becoming a nice baby after 9 months. So all this we can see, we can follow, we can make diagnosis, we can do a lot of things, but still there is no clear scientific or medical explanation about the secret behind. And so this should give us an idea of this value of life, because the life is really a gift, as it has been said in the video. Why do we incarnate here? We have told it already. We incarnate in order to progress. Our spirit needs to progress. So this is why we are incarnating. We are taking temporarily a physical body. When we have finished the mission in this life, we just leave the physical body. We give it back to the earth, which is then reusing, recycling, and our soul, our spirit, with the spiritual body, continues its evolution. Okay. So we are not capable to create life other than using the natural processes. So we should have the deepest possible respect also for this life. And this leads us to a lot of other questionings, like, okay, what about abortion? What about suicide? What about euthanasia? All these questions which are under debate very often in a lot of places. And this spiritualist paradigm brought by the Spiritist body of knowledge is bringing a lot of hints, a lot of elements, a lot of food for thoughts to think about all these questions from a spiritual point of view, whilst nowadays mostly the laws and regulations which are valid here and there are based, unfortunately, on a materialist paradigm. Means the embryo is a thing, is not a living being, whilst Spiritist body of knowledge is teaching it's a living being, and it's not a part of the body of the mother. It's an independent body with its own DNA, with its own spirit, which is incarnated there. So this, taken into consideration, gives us a different view on all these questions and showing us the respect we need to have for the life. But okay, let's develop this in a further step. I talk too much. Sorry.
No, you never talk too much, my friend. So we do have some questions here already. Elsa put it to us because she got these questions. But first of all, we will give us our introduction. So, Silvia, my dear, how is your life beautiful without Wimbledon? Beside Wimbledon?
Well, the championship starts soon, maybe next week. So life gets very busy around here. And it's always wonderful to just pop in, just go down the road for about 10 minutes and I'm there. So yeah, looking forward to that. I hope the weather holds and don't have too much rain. But there you are. So life, I think one of the things that Charles was saying, that's such an important point because science has progressed beyond what we could imagine even about 30, 40 years ago, and they do now can manipulate DNA and all sorts of things, but the creation of life itself is no science has yet been able to do. They can manipulate what God created. Let's face it, God created it, but they cannot actually create it. And I think should be a humbling thing for people, but it isn't. And another point also that I thought very important that Charles mentioned is a question of the value that we have to give for life, because I think one of the points, the spiritual guide of Chico Xavier, the Brazilian medium, wonderful spirit, he talked about life and how much we it's precious for us to be here incarnated on earth, because I think we have just 1/4 of the population of the earth, of the spirits that are located to the earth, being born at any one time. So if we have 7 billion people now, we have like 3/4, another 17 billion waiting to reincarnate. So just the fact that we are here is already precious. It's already a gift that was given to us. And I think sometimes we don't really value. I understand that many people suffer, many people have very many difficulties. But I think one thing that was given by us, for God, and we talked about this before, is the fact that we will fight for our lives. When we are in situations that we feel fear of losing our life, we will try utmost to preserve it. And yet we see so many problems and difficulties, that people, for one reason or another, don't, they forget this because they get involved in their problems, and they forget how special life is. And while you are living, you can solve any problems. And it's very sad because nowadays we have a lot of discussion on euthanasia, abortion. A lot of people feel that is their right, and without getting to the question of what's wrong, right or wrong, and we don't know, each person has their own solution to their own problems. But I think one of the things that, say for instance, in abortion, they dismiss, oh yes, and Charles point out very well that it's a different being. It's connected to the mother just for birth, but it's a different spirit, a different life. And I think we cannot forget that mother, when she was in the spiritual world, gave her acceptance of receiving this child. So in a way, she's almost turning back from something that she herself have already given. Because when we are born, our parents, before they were born, they already had the commitment to receive us. So I think this, thinking in terms of the spirit, this is something we needed to remember, that you're turning your back on something that you have accepted to do. And also, whenever you see many discussions, people don't talk about, but life is a conception. Is not after the baby grows and when he's born. No, at the moment conception, life starts there. And I think it is something we need to think about. And also, the question of euthanasia, how many people think they don't want to suffer, because I think it's very much thinking about the body and the material side of our body. We seem to forget many times that dimension, the spiritual dimension of a being. We are eternal beings, we are we have one life, many existences, but one life. And I think, as Charles pointed out as well, we're here to progress. That's the reason why we are giving the new opportunities and to improve our spirit, to improve ourselves, to learn things, to have new experiences. So this is very important, and it's so sad when people think, oh, they will not suffer. And they forget that when they go to the spiritual world, only their body died. Their spirit is there and will go through quite a lot of difficulties, if they have cut short their lives. So it's something to think about, and to whenever decision people take, and without judgment, because we at the very end, we are the ones who have to answer for ourselves, and we're not here to judge or anything. But I think it's very important to remember, to think of ourselves. And it's so sad, because last week I had to go out to visit someone. And we, last Thursday, actually, it was last Thursday afternoon, I went out and we came, we went by tube and we come out of the tube and we went to see a few sites because showing this London to a friend. And when we went back to the station was closed. And, they had a little message that they had a problem with the person in the trucks. So there was a suicide in a train, in the tube last week, which enclosed all the tubes and everything. So we had to come back by bus, which was really bad, lots of people. And, maybe just an hour before, we came in and out of the tube, no problem. And it's so sad when this happens because it's such a shock. That a precious life was taken so quickly without thinking, And but I think ultimately we will fight for our lives, and we see examples that, when I'm thinking very much about that accident that happened in the 70s in the Andes, that a group of people, some of them died and everything, and they did the utmost to survive, and some of them did. When you think about, hostages that are being kept in the most tremendous, horrendous situation, and they fight for life. And, someone that, a friend of someone, a relative of a friend of mine, she was caught in that nightmare that happened in Israel, and lots of people were shot, and she hid for 5 hours underneath the bodies of people who had been killed, to survive. So I think given certain situations, we will do anything to hold on to life. And it's so sad when, someone takes their life. And I think when it happens, because they are not themselves, They really beyond, something is hurting them so much that they cannot thinking clearly. Because when we do, we will not give up our life so easily. So hopefully, we pray, and that people will live and enjoy and be grateful, because it's such a wonderful thing, really, isn't it?
It is. It is indeed. Uh, yeah, I remember that story from this airplane who was missed in, I think, Chile or something like this. So we have a bunch of questions here today, and let me start here. Let's give a hello to our friends who are online. Hipólito Rebolo, Daniela Mercy. Also, she wrote, "Death of a body says more of life than the birth of a new body." I agree. The value of life would be more balanced if the acceptance of birth and death were considered the same and more normalized as in some countries. I grew up in Sicily, and since little child were exposed to death wakes with our loved ones and neighbors. You learn very soon to accept the full circle of life in the same way without too much fear and anxiety. Day of the Dead sounds be more important all over the world. Thank you.
um this
Thank you.
One thing, Daniela, she wrote something. I don't quite understand what she means. That suicide is part of a contract of life to learn and to teach. I can't quite understand what she means by that, because suicide is never part of our lives, of a contract with our lives on earth. When as a spirit, we are here to live our lives. And sometimes we have a lot of difficulties and a lot of pain, and some people suffer more than others. But we don't suffer any more than what we accepted, and whatever we go through, I experienced that we requested. God does not impose on us the difficulties that we go through, those many difficulties and pain and suffering, and we have asked for those experiences. I think sometimes we
Mhm.
forget that. So I'm not quite sure if that you know
Yeah.
suicide
Okay.
is never
So
a contract. Yeah.
you were right to us. Meanwhile, let's go to one of the questions I have here. The first question. Hello, dear friends. Could you please answer the questions as my friend Steve will listen it? Hope you're listening, Steve. Would that karma be within the current life or carried over several lifetimes? Who
Yeah.
want to take that?
Spiritist body
Carl?
of knowledge does not use this expression karma because of an idea of fatality which is behind it. And indeed, it comes mostly, the notion of karma comes mostly from India, where we find some extreme position about it. For instance, this guy is here in the road, homeless, in the misery, but it's his karma, so we shouldn't help him because otherwise we would interfere to the karma. So spiritist body of knowledge is absolutely against this. I think this is an exaggeration. We should, when you have the opportunity, help everyone independently of this notion, because the karma has an end. And who knows that we are not the one in order to make the karma designed by God, in order to make the karma person. So we prefer to use the law of cause and effect, or the law of action and reaction. It is more, how to say, it's a little bit softer, albeit it's also quite a strong natural law. Because we have the free will, as we have explained it also in the previous life, but we cannot go against the laws of nature. If we jump through the window, we will fall down. We cannot say, no, I don't want to fall down anymore. But once you are in the air, without not anything below you, you will fall down. This is simply a law of nature which always prevails over our will and our free will. So this is why this when we have done something wrong, we have somehow to go through three phases. First, we have to take conscience and to regret what you have done. Then this is where this notion of karma starts and the law of cause and effect. We will feel in our own pill, we ourselves, what we have made the other, what the suffering we have caused to the others. And the third stage is to repair the damage we have caused. So this we will have to do. But to answer to more specifically to the question of Steve, we can do it in one life, or we can do it over several lives, depending on the level of difficulties of what we have to do, or also the level of gravity of the mistake we have done.
Good. You want to complement something, Silvia?
No, I think Charles explained really well, because although he said maybe soft law cause and effect, because I think for us, from my understanding anyway, the idea of karma is the idea of punishment, that you are punished. And I think very much in the teachings that the Spirit has left us, reincarnation is not a punishment. It's lessons that we need to learn, to redress wrongs that we have committed in the past. And the idea of cause and effect, which is very, very important, because we have free will to do whatever we want, but then we need to be prepared to harvest everything we planted. So we can do everything, but also we need to be able to take all the consequences of what we have. And I think one of the most important things in the teachings, in the Spiritist teachings, is the fact that God is forever merciful. Forever. It's ourselves. We are the ones who, when we've done wrong and we realize the wrongs we've done, we ask for new opportunities to readdress the wrong, to be with the people that we wronged in the past, new opportunities. So it's not a punishment, are new opportunities for us to learn, to reconnect with people. And this is extremely important point, and it is in what sometimes Spiritism differs from something. We don't believe in punishment. We accept that this opportunity is new thing. And I think one thing reminds me, André Luiz, the Spirit André Luiz in the book Nosso he says that when we die, we face the mirror of our conscience. And, in the Spirit's book, I think in question 621, when Kardec asked the spirits, where are the laws of God written? And they say, in your conscience. So we ourselves ask for the lessons that we need to learn. And it differs because karma seems a punishment that is imposed on us. And that's not quite, is much subtler than that. And I think, sometimes it's easier. Would it be easier if someone, go there, you're going to be punished now, rather than we having to face our own conscience and say, I've done wrong. And sometimes we don't accept that we've done wrong. So we stay in the spiritual world sometimes for a long time, making one mistake after another, coming back, making mistakes. But the day will come that we will change, because that is another thing as well that the Spirit teaches us, is that not a single soul will be lost. We have one destiny, which is light, which is improvement. We are spirits of light. We are created by the light of God, and that's who we are. And until we flourish and we learn and we do everything ourselves, so that we have the value of the things we've done. And I think Charles was talking about Shakespeare, and it reminds me also, in the play, I think one of the best plays of Shakespeare, King Lear, the first part, he says, "When we are born, we cry that we have come to this great stage of fools." And when we think about sometimes the learning that we have in the spiritual world, everything we commit to do when we are here, and we want to do this and want to do that, but then when we come here, we change our mind. We think life is too hard, it's going to be too difficult, And I think it is really, it really makes sense. We come to this great stage of fools, but there we are, and we should be grateful for that as well. So that's it.
Wonderful.
Yes, and I would add, Steven, that even God does not punish. God does not
No,
punish.
no way.
Infinitely merciful. So how could someone infinitely merciful punish? No, the laws of nature are the same for everyone. So we are punishing ourselves if we are not in, or if we are in wrong with the laws of nature. So it's as simple as that. And answering also to the question, karmic law is not superseding human law and justice. I think natural laws are superseding human laws and justice, because human laws are human, so still embedded with the imperfection of human. And the more the human are growing, the more these human laws are coming closer to the natural laws. You see a lot of things which were legally authorized not so long ago are today not authorized anymore, because with our progress of our knowledge, we have seen that this is not fair, or this is not okay, or this is not good, or whatever. Slavery, for instance, was legal 200 years ago, and it's not legal anymore today. And there are a lot of things like that. And for instance, we talked about abortion. Abortion is totally legal in a lot of countries, in France since 1970s. But is it a good thing? We are just warning and bringing the information that it's not so good as we usually think it is. So once this will be really encompassed within the scientific knowledge, probably the law will change again. And if it's today allowed, maybe one day it will not be allowed anymore, because we will see that it is not aligned with the natural laws. It does not recognize the value of the life, even the life which is information inside the body of the mother.
Okay, let's keep going because we have more questions. Would that karma be with us currently life or oh no? I think this is it's
I answered to it already.
yeah. So would you say karmic law supersedes human laws and justice? I like that question.
This is what I just answered.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Uh, economic value used to quantify the benefit to avoid fatality. No.
Yes. So this is another important thing. Today, there is a value of a human life, which is sometimes used as a reference. For instance, when when there is a road somewhere which is with some, let's say, turns which are a little bit too tight and so on, it is known that you have one fatality, and then a second fatality, and then a third fatality. And then there is a kind of a value which is given to this fatality in order to invest, in order to rectify the turns and to make the road less dangerous. So there is a kind of a value which is defined here or there for some criteria. But I think it stays quite confidential, because again, we cannot put an economical value to a life. But sometimes we can understand, for instance, during the pandemic, during COVID, there was just 10 spaces for 12 people. So who are the two which will stay outside? So the doctors, the medical staff, they need a criteria to apply in these cases. And here we are touching something very delicate, which is called meta-ethics. It's like, for instance, we have now more and more this automatic driving system from the cars. So this can happen. You see, the car is going and about to hit 3 people. And then, okay, I can deviate the car, but I will hit 1 people. So whatever you do, you hit 3 people or 1 people. What shall the automatic system decide? To hit one person or to hit 3 persons? It may seem obvious the answer, but it's not. It's not so obvious, because to hit 1 people is not a good choice either.
No,
And all these questions are now growing and growing and growing, and there are very interesting debates about this. So we really are going from the principle, from the Spiritist body of knowledge. We cannot put a money or an economic value to a life because we are not capable to create one. We are not capable to. It's something which comes from higher level, from God himself, and to put an economical value in front of it, it's discussable. So that's my point of view, at least.
Wonderful point of view. Yeah.
I know, for instance, in the company I worked recently, there was a very absolutely strong policy to make everything we can to avoid any type of accident and even more of fatalities. And when there was a fatality somewhere, you had immediately people coming in order to make an inquiry, to analyze why, and to go for the root causes and to do whatever is possible, stop the works until it is clear, and we are sure that we did the utmost to avoid any further fatality. So I think these procedures are now more and more applied everywhere, and I think it is really what we have to do everything we can. Of course, fatality always will happen because some cases you have such a highly improbable combination of different causes leading to the fatality that whatever precaution you take, you will always have. But nevertheless, by making these type of procedures, you divide the number of fatality by 10 or by 20, and this is exactly what we have to do.
Okay. So we go back to a question. So Silvia, Daniela Mercy, she put it here about the topic of the suicide. It's a very delicate subject. We've asked for all our up and downs. In my opinion, also the end of this journey, definitely very difficult decision to take and desperate measures. Who choose this path will still have to come back and live the same challenge again over again.
Well, I think, as you said before, suicide is never part of the plan. Absolutely never. And I think the same challenge again, it's a bit good because we will have, upon the difficulties that we tried to avoid, the ones that we created, because of all the things that we can do. The taking of our own lives, it's the most difficult thing that we would have to face. Having said that, I think one thing that is very important for me in understanding about Spiritism is that absolutely nothing is written in stone. The laws of God, they exist, and we sometimes we make mistakes in living them, and that's when we suffer. Because there is a question in the Spirit's book where say, why? So when, and the Spirit's answer, when you go against the laws of nature, which are the laws of God, is that when we create our own suffering. And I think there is always everything. Suicide is a bad thing to do, but each case is will be judged in its own merits. A lot of things will be considered. It is not the same thing for everyone. Every person will be judged in for their own merit at the situation that happened, and there are different nuances on that. But having said that, again, we will always have to answer for the destroying our lives, because we really begged to have a life here. So, and once we do, there is nothing that's so terrible that to justify it. And of course, we know that there is a lot of suffering, there's a lot of pain. Sometimes the person is not even aware of they doing. There is a lot of spiritual influence. We know that as well. There is a lot of things in life that people think they cannot cope with. But if we each, I think we, all of us, each and every one of us, without exception, there are times in our lives that we think we can't go on. I'm sure that all of us at one time in our lives thought, oh God, I can't go on. May I die now or something. But we get that strength, and especially if we pray or something, ask help from other people, or we go through it. And when we look back, that becomes such an important point of learning for us. We look back in our lives and we are so grateful that we were able to overcome whatever it was at the time. So this is very important as well for person to know, because we're not only going to see go through the things we had to go through in the first, but then we have something extra to go through it, and becomes harder for us sometimes to having to cope that, especially if we already created a weakness there. And I think I like to, I'm not judging absolutely in any way whatsoever, because as I said, we have no idea what a person is going through, how much of their own consciousness is into it, how much are they being guided by negative forces and everything. So things will be judged themselves. But if we within a power of reasoning, if we can stop ourselves from going through and doing something that's so painful, because also it's not only the suffering that you go through, and there is a lot of spiritual implication that not comes here now for us, but also the family. There is an incredible suffering for the family who's left behind, the questioning and the pain and the despair that's left behind. So there is a lot to consider. And of course, as I said, maybe they desperate measures. Yeah, desperate measures, but ask help, ask people for help, ask God for help. And if we can overcome some of the difficulties, we'll be able to look back and say, oh, thank God I've done something. Even if you don't believe in God, you say, oh, I'm so glad that I was strong enough to overcome that. Because it's always when you go, I think is the point of going to that crossroads, isn't it, that we go. And which path do we choose? Which path do we choose? And I always remember that poem of Robert Frost. He said, I came that morning to that road, and they were fair and both fair, but I chose the one less traveled by. and that made all the difference. And I think, in thinking about the journey of our lives, I think sometimes we need to take the road less traveled, but that's the one who will make the difference. So, yeah.
There is
Yeah, you're
simple like
totally
that.
right, Silvia. And I
Yeah.
think the studies are showing that most of the suicide, I think 90% or something, can be prevented just by because the person committing suicide does not want to end with a life. Most of the time, the person want to end with the suffering. So if it's physical suffering, there are some medical treatments which is possible. If it's moral suffering, there is some people just going, listening, offering help, just offering a hand or giving a hug or whatever, talking, listening to the person, and so on. And we could avoid 90% of the suicide just by this prevention, helping the people to give meaning in their life, to recognize the value of the life. These are the best prevention.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we have time for just one more question. Let me see here. How to understand about eternal life, reincarnation, and existences?
It's not so complicated, this one. Eternal life is we I mean immortal life, to be more accurate. We have been created as a human soul, simple and without science, without knowledge. This is all of us have been created the same way. huh? But then we are not eternal because we had a beginning. Eternal is normally what has no beginning and no end. But we can also understand eternal as immortal. So we will, once we are created, death does not exist. The life goes on. And the reincarnation is necessary at our level of evolution we have today. I still need to incarnate in a physical body in order to progress. And the purpose of the reincarnation is allowing my soul to progress. That's
Mhm.
why when I have to make use as much as I can of this body gifted by God and by all these laws of nature, in order to progress as much as I can during this opportunity. And then once I have finished my mission in this world, in this life, I just give it back and go back to the spiritual world. Yet, if I still have to continue evolving, I will reincarnate in a new body to make a next step. So this is how we can understand this immortal life, reincarnation, and existences. Through this law of progress, we are progressing towards God, basically.
Yeah. It's true, isn't it? Because once we are created, we will, it's that is one way forward. And I think there is one life and many existences. So
Mhm.
every time
Mhm.
we are born, we are living a new existence, new learning. That's why we're born a male, female. Sometimes we read, sometimes we're poor, sometimes we're very intellectual, sometimes we're not. For new different, new experiences, so we can absorb all this knowledge to be an enlightened being. So it's many existence, but one life. That's
Yeah.
a great thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like we said, when we have one life and zillions incarnations, whatever incarnations.
Yeah. We've already
Okay.
been going through quite
Um,
some time.
huh?
We've already been going through it for quite some time. Some of us have already been in exile. to this
Yeah,
beautiful
exactly.
planet Earth.
Yeah.
So now we have to sort of pick up ourselves up and go forward, you know.
Anyway, okay. Let me see. So, Saul Walters is with us. Thank you, my friend, to be here. Rialia home. Luviem. So, Daniela Mar said, thank you for this interesting important discussion. So, good. Thank you. Thank you. Let me see. I think we finish with the questions. See? Huh? Job done.
Done.
Yeah, this is good. Time flies, it's already 3 minutes to finish
But
our time.
Steven, if I just may add as a kind of a finishing word, is so we understood now the value of life. We understood the need of life, of being reincarnated in order to progress. Huh? To progress towards what? Intellectually, with increasing every time more our knowledge, huh? And also morally, to become every day a little bit better person than we were the day before. Okay, so this is the future of our humanity. Huh? So we should really go away from all this selfishness, excessive pride, violence, and so on, and to go to make all our efforts possible for being peaceful, fraternity, solidarity. Because this is the only sustainable future. It is the future of our humanity. So this is really what we have to cultivate, and this is really what the Spiritist body of knowledge is really making us understand and encouraging us in this way.
Yeah. Life is a blessing. That's
Exactly.
it. In whichever situation, if you're incarnate or discarnate, life is a blessing. Enjoy it. Live with it. Learn how to deal with it. So, we have announcements. Let me put it here. The announcements. No, wrong announcements. Yes. Okay. So next week, 3rd of July, our topic will be, what are you thankful for? That's our topic, just to keep it going on the path for the life, the value of life. What are you thankful for? So it's this weekend, Spiritism Max 2024 in Oxford, London. London, no,
Oxford.
UK. So please don't miss this good opportunity. There are still few tickets available. So it's a good opportunity to meet Charles, Silvia in person.
I am
Unfortunately,
not
I
going
won't.
to be there. No, I'm not part of it.
Oh, you're not going to be there?
No, that's not. I'm not part of this time. No.
Okay. Yeah, I won't be there, unfortunately. But
But I
I
will.
hope you guys have a good
And to
event.
enjoy also the film festival. Huh?
Yeah, and at the end we have the film festival. Yes.
And seeing this movie No Solar 2, which was launched in Brazil, but here in Europe not yet. So it will be kind of first of the kind.
Yeah. So the series of Camille Flammarion. So I'm not sure if this weekend or next weekend we will have um, a conversation, a talk about Camille Flammarion. Keep reading the Spiritism magazine and listen Kardec Radio. And this is it from me. Thank you all. Thank you for being here with me. And I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye
God,
bye. Thank you.
Bye bye. God bless.
bye, everyone. God bless. Keep safe. And we'll see you next week. God
Bye.
willing. Ciao.